everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cute little summer turtle. All you need for this craft is some green construction paper, a coffee filter, some googly eyes, or if you don't have them you can draw your own face, some watercolor paint, and another option if you don't have any watercolor paint would be to use a squirt bottle and some Crayola markers. So squirt bottles are really good to work on hand strain and grass because it keeps an open web space that you use when you're writing, and it allows you to strengthen your hands by when you're squeezing and applying enough pressure to get the water to come out. So that's another option, but for mine I am going to use some watercolor paint. So let's begin. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. So I have my little cup of water right here. My coffee filter's on a plate just because it's going to get nice and wet. So you want to make sure something's underneath so it doesn't spill all over your table or anything, and my watercolor paint. And like I mentioned before, if you don't have any watercolor paint, you can use a squirt bottle and markers. So let's begin. You can let your children or students get creative and use whatever color they want for their project because it's going to be their turtle. And you just want to make sure you're getting enough water for each color because we want our coffee filter to be wet because that really helps allowing all the colors to run together, and that's when you get the beautiful colors all shining through, and it creates a perfect decoration for the front door, to hang on your window, or even just to add to the fridge. So what I'm doing now is just dipping my paintbrush in water and then the paint, and then just going over the coffee filter. If you want to create a pattern, that is completely up to you. If you want to draw any shapes first and then try to fill in those shapes, you can do that as well. It is your craft, so you can make it as creative or as colorful as you'd like. Here's a close-up so far. I'm just going over and painting through, and I'm going to fill in all of the coffee filter. And as your child is using the paintbrush, make sure you're focusing on their grasp too. We want to try to make sure they're using more of a pincing grasp or a tripod grasp. Pinching is when you're just using your two fingers and you want to pinch, but when we normally write, we use a tripod grasp. So you want to make sure they're trying to learn to use one of those as they're painting and coloring during their activities, and avoid fisting. As they start to get older, we want to try to reinforce a tripod grasp more and more. An alternative, instead of using a small paintbrush, you can try to use a bigger paintbrush, and that will help. Also, if you have any half. So if you have half the size of a paintbrush, that would be helpful too, because then it forces their child to use more of a refined grasp. Some other options would just be using Q-tips. Q-tips are really great because they're small and forces the hand into that natural position. I'm using lots of greens and yellows for my turtle, and I'm just still going around making sure I'm using enough water so that it gets wet. And all the colors can run together beautifully. You also want to encourage your child to use their helper hand. So I'm using my right hand, but then I'm stabilizing the paper or the coffee filter and the plate with my left hand. So we always want to make sure both hands are working together nicely. So here's mine so far. Just want to show you a little close-up, and I'm almost done. I just have up here to do. Arts and crafts are perfect to do during the summer to keep your children or students busy and they're working on different skills right at home. You can pair each craft that you do with a story, so then you can work on other further skills like having them talk and communicate, answering simple questions, working on those WH questions, like I know my speech therapist friends love to target. It can also be educational, so just where do sea turtles live, things like that. Learn about the ocean through doing a craft. Add some blue color into it for the ocean. I'm just about finishing up mine. Okay, so mine is all finished. I'm going to set it aside and then we can move on to the next steps while this is drying. For this next step, we're going to use some green construction paper. You will also need a marker and a pair of scissors, and we're going to start working on creating the arms, the head, and the tail and the legs of our turtle. So on mine, for the arms and our legs, I kind of did this rounded shape that also has vertical lines on the sides. If your child is working on any specific shape, like making long ovals or circles, they can make their arms and legs look like that. As well as if they're working on squares, you can make this into a square just to further work on skills they might be learning. For mine, I did the lines down and then the rounded at the top. So that's what I'm going to show you. When I'm working with my students, we try to practice making the vertical lines down. We add that horizontal line across, and then I like to tell them to make the letter U right on top for the half circle. Another good helpful hint would be make like a little rainbow on top. So it's like making the rainbow, and then you do the two vertical lines down and run across. So it's like a mix of different shapes. So we're going to need 4 of those. So for the 2 arms and 2 legs. They can be any size, they can be small, they can be big. And then for the head, it's going to be the same shape, but maybe you want to make it a little skinnier, a little longer, or a little wider. That is up to you. So I'm going to make mine a little longer. So I ran across my 2 lines down, and now I made my rainbow. And then a tail. This is also optional if you want to add it in. For me, I just did a little line across, and then we made it a point, almost like you're making the letter J. And come down to a point, and then we can cut it out. When you're working with scissors, make sure your child always has supervision, and I always tell my students that scissors are tools, not toys, so we have to be super careful when we're working with them. Also encourage your child to use a thumb up position, so the thumb always goes to the sky. And then we open and close. We want to keep our arm, when we're using scissors, keep our arm close to our body. Then we're going to cut out our shapes, thumb up and close to our body. And we're just going to cut out these shapes for our turtle while the rest of our turtle is drying. So we can set these aside and make a little pile of them. What you're going to need next after we finish cutting is either googly eyes and some squeeze glue or regular glue. And if you don't have any googly eyes, you can most certainly just draw your own eyes, or you can use white construction paper and try to create your own eyes. Squeeze glue is also another great choice to use when working on hand strength, because you have to use both hands together and make sure you're applying enough pressure to get it out. But a glue stick is also a perfect option. The legs are cut out, so is my head. Now lastly, I'm on to the tail. Okay, so now that these are all done, we can just wait for our rest of our turtle body. Once your coffee filter is all dry, we can take it and start gluing down the body parts of our turtle and add on the googly eyes. So we can take our head. So my head is the bigger one. And I'm just going to add some glue and put it right onto our turtle. So just adding the squeeze glue. Then I'm just going to put it on the back and stick. So then it looks like that. Then we're going to do the same for the arms and the legs. The arms you can put over here and the two legs down below. And we can also add on our little tail to the back. Adding our glue. You can either use a glue stick or a squeeze glue. Our last little leg. So here's our turtle so far. Let me get a better angle for you. Now we can either add the googly eyes or we can draw our own face. So I'm going to add the googly eyes to mine. I have a cup of all little googly eyes, so I'm just going to pinch and pull two out. And I'm going to stick them on with the glue. Two little dots. You don't want, what I like to tell my students is you don't want any gooey louies. So that means no big gooey globs on the paper. That will get everywhere. So here is the finished product of our turtle. I hope you enjoyed doing this craft. Thanks for watching my video.